Hello, who's your fans, who's your haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast. And on today's episode, I'm going to be starting my 5 episode series on the six Squires that I talked about last week. And this is going to be a weekly series leading up to college basketball starting in November. So this just gives me enough time to make sure all my research is correct and gives you guys enough time to watch it all before the season starts. So let's take us all back to a time in September of 2000, September 10th. After getting a 20-win season and a berth in the NCAA tournament, the Hoosiers were not the not doing the greatest as they were back in the 80s and 70s when they were winning championships and just dominating college basketball. But there was still hope with guys coming in like Jared Jeffries and AJ Moye, and then with guys with also Kirk Caston and Tom Cloverdale, like they can make a run in these next couple of years. But the zero tolerance policy that was instituted by um, Indiana President Mark Brand got used against Bob Knight after an alleged misconduct against the former late coach. Um, so on September 10th, he was fired and created a lot of controversy within the IU campus. A lot of protests, a lot of people upset about the decision. A lot of people today are still upset about that decision. But it just is what it is. After all the stuff, Bob Knight was a fantastic coach. I am not gonna say that he wasn't. He was a fantastic coach at Indiana. But going into the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, a trend started to emerge where he got more irritable, where he got more upset, and he didn't couldn't really control it as much. And I should know I have that problem too, a little bit of the problem too. But it led to the point where he had to get fired for the administration to save face in a way, because for them they couldn't have a basketball coach basically run the entire school. They couldn't. They had to put their foot down, and they did. Many after this decision, many players threatened the transfer if either Mike Davis or John Traylor were not promoted to head coaching positions at Indiana. Brand, he was offered a co-coach position to both the assistants, but Traylor declined the promotion and decided to be the associate head coach. And then the new coach, Mike Davis, became the interim head coach on September 12th. So just for some background on who Mike Davis is, he was in 1995 to 97, he was the Alabama assistant coach. And then from 97 to 2000, he was assistant coach in Indiana for getting the role as head coach. So this first season, he's in the interim. He's the interim head coach. Departing from the 99 2000 was AJ Guyton, who was drafted in the second round and the third pick to Chicago. Michael Lewis, Lynn Washington, and Larry Richardson all graduated from the program. For newcomers, Jared Jeffries was the big recruit there, the ninth ranked recruit in the country. AJ Moye, who was ranked 56th. George Leach, who was ranked 72. And then Andre Owens, who was unranked. So, not much in terms of turnover. They got some good faces coming in, but it's just new season, new head coach. There's not much expectations going into this season, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens. For their lineup, starting was Kirk Haston, all big first team center, who got that honor this 2001 season, who averaged 19 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.2 assists. Jared Jeffries, who won the Freshman of the Year, uh, had 13.8 points, 6.9 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Tom Cloverdale, a sophomore guard, 10.7 points, 3.4 rebounds, 4.8 assists. Dane Fife, a defensively minded junior guard, 5.1 points, 2.8 rebounds, 3.2 assists. And then Jeff Newton, a sophomore forward, 6.1 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 1.2 assists. Then going on the bench, you had Kyle Hornsby, a sophomore guard, averaging about 7 points, a rebound, and 2 assists. AJ Moye, freshman guard, 3.3 points, 2.4 rebounds, 0.4 assists. Jared Owe, a junior forward, 3.3 points, 2.8 rebounds, zero point 0.4 assists. Then Andre Owens, the other freshman guard, 4.7 points, 1.4 rebounds, 0.7 assists. And just for some insight about what I'm doing for the series, with the lineups, I'm usually going to go with the 9-man lineup since that is the definite most popular rotation amount for IU. So the top 9 guys in terms of minutes, etc. On the season, they finished 21-13 and 10-6 in the Big Ten, which was third. In the Big Ten tournament. They lost their first game 63-61 to Iowa. And then the first round, they were a 4 seed and then got upset by Kent State 77-73. They finished in the AP poll number 20 after not being ranked all year. And just for without the postseason, the best and worst games of the season, they were able to beat number 10 Notre Dame on a neutral site 86-78. Uh, Something that's been a trend over for IU coaches, beating number 1 Michigan State 59-58, just beating number 1 Michigan State in general, and then winning at Purdue 74-58. And just for some insight of how I do these, I just look to see what just usually ranked wins are going to be big, Purdue wins are going to be big, winning on the road's going to be big. And then for losses, they lost at home against Missouri 63-68, lost at Minnesota 74-78, and then lost on a neutral site over Texas 58-70. And these aren't like chronological order or anything like that. These are just 3 games that I think were the best or the worst of the season. And for the losses, big losses, losing at home, losing against unranked teams, and teams that aren't usually good in the Big Ten. And that was the first season, and it was, in my opinion, I think it was a good season. Did what you needed to do. Very similar to last year, even with the coaching change. They were able to keep at it, keep at the pace they were at. Didn't really take a step back at all. Now heading to 2001, 2002, and a lot of people really think that this was probably the best season since Bob Knight was fired. Departing, you had Kirk Haston, who went to the NBA, his 16th overall pick in 2001. Let me make sure because I don't know why I don't have it listed. I don't have it listed for some reason. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure I I know where Kirk Haston went. This is very scuffed, but oh well. Did, so Kirk Haston was drafted by Charlotte. Well, that's funny, considering we have another big man drafted to Charlotte. But anyways, 2001, 2002. So yeah, Kirk Haston, 16th overall in 2001 to Charlotte, and then Andre Owens transferred to Houston. The newcomer, the only real newcomer, is Donald Perry, a freshman who was unranked. Um, and in March 21st, 2001, Mike Davis was officially, they removed the interim and he became the 22nd full-time head coach and the first African American coach in Indiana's history. For the lineup, for starting, we had Jared Jeffries in his sophomore season, 15 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 2.1 assists. He was able to get the Big Ten Player of the Year and also was a first team All Big Ten. Dane Fife, in his senior year, got 8.7 points, 2.6 rebounds, and 2.5 assists, and was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Keith Hornsby, in his junior year, got 7.7 points, 2.6 rebounds, and 1.9 assists. Tom Cloverdale, junior guard, in his junior year, 11.9 points, 3.2 rebounds, 4.8 assists. And Jared Odell, in his senior year, 8.8 points, 5 rebounds, and about three-quarters of an assist. On the bench, Jeff Newton, his junior year, 8 points, 5 rebounds, and about an assist. Donald Perry, the freshman guard, 2.6 points, 1.4 rebounds, and an assist. AJ Moye in his sophomore year, 5.9 points, 3 rebounds, and half an assist. And then Leach, the sophomore center, 2.8 points, 2.5 rebounds, and a point 3 assists. IU finished the season 25 and 12 with 11 and 5 in the Big Ten, and they shared the regular season Big Ten title with Illinois, Washington, and Ohio State, but they vacated all of their games during the 2001-02 season. Um, what? So their Big Ten tournament went a little bit better than than they did last year, where they went all the way up to the semifinals. Oh, I went to football. Dang it. Sorry. I'm scuffed today. I don't know why. So they beat Michigan State in the quarterfinals 67 to 56, but lost to Iowa in the semifinals 62 to 60. And in the NCAA tournament, they entered it as the number 5 seed in the South region. And if you remember that 2002 Indiana run, oh boy. Uh, their first round matchup, they faced the number 12 Utah and they won 75 to 56. And then heading into the second round, UNC Wilmington beat the number 4 seed USC. So Indiana was able to beat USC Wilmington in the second round, 76-67. And then the Sweet 16, Indiana faced off against number 1 Duke. And the Daily Hoosier has a great article about this whole game. I recommend looking it up. Um, Mike Schumann has a fantastic article on it, but Tom Cloverdale's 4 straight points in the final minutes was able to beat finish off number 1 Duke in Kentucky. Funnily enough, 74-73 in the Sweet 16. And if you want full in-depth analysis on that, you can look up that article. It was a fantastic game. And then going in the Elite Eight, Indiana takes business and gets revenge on number 10 Kent State 81 to 69 to get to the Final Four. And in the Final Four, they're able to beat the number 2 seed in the West bracket, Oklahoma, 73-64, to reach the NCAA tournament final, where they lost to 64-52 to the number 1 team in the East bracket, Maryland. And rankings wise, they started at number 22, and the high was number 20. I don't know how they ended on rank, even though they went to the final. I don't know. Rankings were weird in the 2000s. But if we're looking at the best games of the season outside of that postseason run, they were able to beat number 15 Ball State 74-61. And yes, Ball State was ranked in the 2000s. As I said, weird. Uh, Beat number 19 Ohio State 63-57 and beat number 9 Illinois 88-57. Their worst games was a loss against Miami 53-58, loss against number 7 Kentucky at the RCA Dome 52-66, and then a loss versus Marquette 49-50 at home. So overall, this season was fantastic. One of the better seasons since Bob Knight was fired in its only year two. So a lot of hope, but we're going to see a lot of turnover from this season going into next. Going into 2002, 2003, Dane Fife has graduated. Jared Jeffries has gone to be a lottery pick for the Washington Wizards at pick 11 in '02, and then Jared Odell's also graduated. For some new faces, Bracy Wright is the number 12 freshman in the country. Marshall Strickland, the number 62 freshman in the country, and then Sean Klein, an unranked freshman. So a lot of stuff to prove going into 0203. Was it a fluke? Did Jared Jeffries literally just carry this team on his back? Probably. Dane Fife was also there too. He also helped carry defensively. For the lineup, in 0203, Jeff Newton led the way. Jeff Newton and Bracy Wright led the way here. Um, Jeff Newton had 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists, and was on the All Big Ten first team as a senior forward. Yeah, I just want to make sure. George Leach, junior center, 6.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 0.4 assists. Bracy Wright, the freshman guard, had 16.2 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists, was of the All Big Ten freshman team. Tom Cloverdale, the senior guard, 12 points, 3.6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. And then Kyle Hornsby, senior guard, 6.6 points, 2.7 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. Then on the bench, the other freshman, Marshall Strickland, 6 points, 2.4 rebounds, 2 assists. AJ Boye, the junior guard, 5.5 rebounds, 3.9, 5.5 points, 3.9 rebounds, and just under an assist. Donald Perry, sophomore guard, 2.2 points, 0.8 rebounds, 0.4 assists. And then Sean Klein, freshman forward, 2.8 points, 1.9 rebounds, and zero point 0.4 assists. For the season, they've finished 21-13, 8-8 in conference play, finishing which was sixth in the Big Ten. They were able to beat Penn State 77-49 in the first round. Uh, Able to beat Michigan 63-56 in the second round in the quarterfinals, but lost to Illinois 73-72 in the semis. Illinois would eventually go on to win the entire Big Ten tournament. Going into the NCAA tournament as the seventh seed, they weren't able to recreate the magic that they did the previous season, but they were able to get a win over number 10 Alabama 67-62, but lost to number 2 Pittsburgh 74-52. Rankings wise, they were as high as number 6 in the country, but they finished the season unranked and they started the season at number 21. Best and worst games of the season, they were able to get a revenge on number 9 Maryland 80-74. It's always good to beat Purdue, and they're able to do that at home 66-63, and they're able to beat number 8 Illinois 74-66. But Purdue got them back as one of the worst games of the season. It was a loss at Purdue 47-69, a loss at Michigan State 54-61, and then a loss at Northwestern 61-74. Overall, it wasn't as good as 01-02, but it's still a step in the right direction, as even without all the pieces they had, they were still able to get a win in the tournament and able to get to the keep going to the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. Going into 03-04, you had Jeff Newton, Tom Cloverdale, and Kyle Hornsby all graduate. And newcomers only got 2 new freshmen. Pat Ewing Jr., which, yes, is the son of Patrick Ewing, the NBA Hall of Famer, and Roderick Williams, an unranked freshman. Lineup wise, Bracy Wright is still holding it down. 18.5 points, 5.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Marshall Strickland in his sophomore year as well, 10.8 points, 3.2 rebounds, 2.7 assists. AJ Moye in his senior year, 10 points, 6.4 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Sean Klein in his sophomore season, 7.1 points, 4 rebounds, and just under an assist. George Leach in his final senior year center, 9.1 points, 5.5 rebounds, and a half assist. On the bench, you had Donald Perry, 3.3 rebounds, 1.7 3.3 points, 1.7 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Jeez. Roderick Wilmot, his freshman season as a guard, 3.3 rebounds, 3.3 points, 2.5 rebounds, 0.3 assists. What's going on with me today? Pat Ewing Jr. As a freshman forward, 2.8 points, 3.6 rebounds, zero point 0.2 assists. Ryan Tapek, junior guard, 3.4 points, 2.5 rebounds, 2 assists. And then Mark Johnson, a junior guard, 4.1 points, zero point 0.1 rebounds, zero point 0.3 assists. So going into the season, this is probably this is a big step back for Indiana. Finished 14 and 15, 7-9 in Big Ten, which is seventh in the conference. Um, they were able to beat Ohio State in the first round, 83-69, but lost to Illinois in the second round, 71 to 59. First losing season since the 1969-70 season, and the first season to miss the NCAA tournament since the 1984-85 season. But they had a tough schedule with a lot of ranked opponents. So their best games were a win against Arizona, 80 to 77, a win against number 21 Purdue, 63-58, and a win at Penn State, 76-75. The worst games of the season, a loss versus Temple, 50 to 59, a loss versus Illinois, 49-51, and a loss versus Minnesota, 71 to 73. And this is a big step back for Indiana. Just rough season overall. They got to get it together as they go into next season. Departing is AJ Moye and George Leach, who both graduated. But newcomers, DJ White, the 13th ranked freshman, Robert Farden, the 30th ranked freshman, AJ Radiff, the 76th ranked freshman, and James Hardy, the 93rd ranked freshman. And much better recruiting, one of the best recruiting classes for Mike Davis's tenure. But there are some questions to be answered from last season, so let's see how it all is. Bracy Wright, in his junior season, had 18.3 points, 4.8 rebounds, 2.7 assists. It was on the All Big Ten first team. DJ White, freshman forward, 13.3 points, 5 rebounds, about under assists per game, was the freshman of the year in the All Big Ten freshman team. Robert Farden, fresh in his freshman season, 10.2 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.1 assists, was also on the All Big Ten freshman team. Marshall Strickland in his junior season, 7.4 points, 3.1 rebounds, 3.4 assists. And AJ Ratliff, a freshman guard, 5.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, and just assists per game. And on the bench, Pat Ewing, Jr. in his sophomore season, 4 points, 4 rebounds, and about an assist per game. Roger Wilmot in his sophomore season, 3.6 points, 2.4 rebounds, 0.3 assists. Eric Scher, the Bloomington native, was able to get to play time in his sophomore season. 1.6 points, 1.1 rebounds, and assists. And then James Hardy in his freshman season, 1.7 points, 1.8 rebounds, and zero point 0.2 assists. Just one spot better than one win better than we were last year. 15 and 14, and they finished 10 and 6 at the Big Ten, which is good for fourth. Um, they got a bye in the first round, but lost to Minnesota in the quarterfinals, 71 to 55, and they did not make the NCAA tournament for the second straight season. I think if they won a couple games in the Big Ten tournament, they could have made the NCAA tournament, but they just did not have a great season at all, even with the new recruiting class. Their best games was a win against number 10 Michigan State, 78-74, a win at Purdue, 75-73, and then they swept Purdue, being at home 79-62. But their worst losses was a loss at home against Notre Dame, 45-55, a loss versus UNC Charlotte, 73-74, and then a loss at Northwestern, 52-73. That 6-game losing streak at the beginning of the season really did not help them at all. They were able to get a couple wins there and a couple wins in the Big Ten tournament. They could have made the NCAA tournament. But going into the sixth season, 05-06, this was the make it or break it year for Davis. After missing the NCAA tournament for back-to-back season, this is probably his last chance to really do something. But the people that but there was a lot of turnover and transfers are starting to come in though. Mark Johnson, Donald Perry, both graduated. Bracy Wright was drafted in the NBA in the second round, pick 47 to Minnesota. And then Pat Ewing Jr. transferred to Georgetown. Newcomers, um, Brent Allen was the main freshman who was unranked, but we got three transfers. Marco Killingsworth and Lewis Moore transferred from Auburn, and Earl Calloway transferred from New Mexico. And this is like the old transfer rules where you had to sit out a year. So this is their first season actually playing. They transferred the previous season, but didn't get to play. And Marco Killingsworth, well, the transfers made a big impact on the season, as two of them were starters in the season. Marco Killingsworth, 17 points, 8 rebounds, and two assists. Robert Varden, his sophomore season, 13 and a half points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Marshall Strickland, his junior season, 12.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Roderick Wilmot, in his junior season, 9 points, 4 rebounds, and a half assist. Earl Calloway, in his as a junior guard, uh, transferred from New Mexico, 5.7 points, 2.3 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. Ben Allen, in his freshman season, 3.2 points, 1.7 rebounds, and zero point 0.4 assists. AJ Radiff, sophomore guard, 3.5 points, 2 rebounds, and a half assist. Eric Stern, his junior year, 3.4 points, 1.6 rebounds, and an assist. Lewis Moore, 3.4 points, 2.2 rebounds, 2.3 assists. And both the Auburn transfers were seniors. And then DJ White only played 5 games and started 3. So the freshman and finished 19 and 12, 9 and 7 in conference play, fifth in the Big Ten. Lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten semifinals, 52-51. But that isn't without getting a win over Wisconsin, 61-56. And then the NCAA tournament, they were and then number 6 seed in the Oakland region. They defeated number 11 San Diego 87-83 in the first round, and lost to number 3 Gonzaga 90-80 in the second round. And in February 11th, 2000, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. Rankings wise, they started 24th. The high was they were up to as ninth in the country, but they finished unranked. Their best wins, but they finally got a win over Kentucky when they were ranked 15th, 79-53 in the RCA Dome. Win versus number 18 Ohio State, 81-79, and a win at Purdue, 70-59. The worst games, the loss against number 18 Iowa, 67-70, lost at Penn State, 68-71, and lost at Wisconsin, 54-72. But on February 11th, 2006, after a 70-67 loss against Iowa and dropping to 13-8 on the season, Mike Davis announced that he'll be resigning from Indiana. And they were at 13-8 in the season and risk of miss the playoffs NCAA tournament for the third straight year. And I think it was probably smart for him to just resign at that point in time. If DJ White never got hurt, he might have been coaching in this next season, next couple of years, and maybe what happens to Indiana doesn't happen. But that's a what if for another day. But going into the conclusion of this whole video essay, what was this first tenure without Bob Knight? In the 6 seasons that Mike Davis was head coach, they were 115-79 and 55-41 in conference play. In the Big Ten tournament, they were 7-6. And then the NCAA tournament, they were 7-3. And in 2001, they were able to make the Big Ten tournament final. In the NCAA tournament, they they appeared 4 times, and they were 7-4 in the NCAA tournament, with one Sweet 16 and Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament final in that 2002 run. They weren't able to make it past the second round in any other year. They had 3 players drafted in the NBA: Kirk Haston to the Hornets, Jared Jeffries to the Wizards, and Bracy Wright to the Timberwolves. And Kirk Haston and Jared Jeffries were both first round picks. Their highest ranking was number 6, which was in week 5 of the 02-03 season. And then as we go into the bet, like if I were to do a starting five for the Mike Davis era, it would be, in my opinion, Bracy Wright as one of the starting guards, all Big Ten freshman team in 02-03, all Big Ten first team in 04-05, and an NBA second round pick. Dane Fife. Well, Bracy Wright had 17.6 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 2.4 assists in his 3 years in Indiana under Mike Davis. Dane Fife in his 2 seasons under Mike Davis had 7 points, 2.7 rebounds, and 2.8 assists, but was the 2001-02 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and the 2002 All-Tournament All-Regional Team. Tom Cloverdale, rounding up the guards, 3 seasons, had 11.5 points, 3 rebounds, 3.4 assists. 2001 All Big Ten Tournament Team, 2002 All NCAA Tournament Region Team, and 2003 All Big Ten Tournament Team. Also, it was very important in that 01-02 tournament run with that game against Duke. Jared Jeffries is the only forward. In his 2 seasons, had 14.4 points, 7.2 rebounds, 2.2 assists. Was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year in 2000-2001. In 2001 All Big Ten Tournament Team, All Big Ten First Team in 01-02, Big Ten Player of the Year in 01-02, All-American Second Team in 01-02 with that, and 2002 All Big Ten All NCAA Tournament Team and NBA first round pick to the Wizards. And then Kirk Haston in his only season as the center, 19 points, 8.7 rebounds, 1.2 assists. All Big Ten First Team in 2000-2001, and then and it was an NBA first round pick to the Charlotte Hornets. After Mike Davis left IU, he went on to be the University of Alabama Birmingham head coach. From 2006 to 2012, he sported a 122-73 record and had one NCAA tournament appearance where he lost that. Then he went to become Texas Southern's head coach from 2012 to 2018 and sported a 115-89 record. And he had 4 NCAA appearances, but lost all 4 because he was the 16th seed. And then Detroit Mercy after that, from 2008 to 2024, 60-1 and sported a 60-119 record. And then just this year, he has become an assistant coach for the University of Memphis under Penny Hardaway. So, just an overall assessment under Mike Davis's tenure. With it being the first head coach after Bob Knight was fired, he had a lot of expectations behind him. And he admitted himself that he did feel like he was not ready for that role. Do I think that he was ready for it? He could have not been ready for it, but I think he still had a successful time in Indiana and should be celebrated as a good head coach with Indiana. And that is my personal opinion. Getting 3 players drafted in the NBA, going to the NCAA final when no other coach has gotten even close is something that should be celebrated. You'd wish for more consistency in the tournament, but having a good record against Purdue, getting to the conference tournament final as well, he had a good time in Indiana. And if DJ White could have stayed healthy, he probably could have had another chance to get to the NCAA tournament final in 05-06. And that might be my opinion, but I think that is an interesting what if I might have to look into. But that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share on all platforms. And before I really sign off, this is going to be a weekly series on Tuesdays. And then the next episode is going to be the very controversial Kelvin Sampson and Dan Dakich episode. So ask all your friends, how would you all feel that Mike Davis did at Indiana?